From the Decatur Scoville Zoo, it's the Faber Files. Hello, I'm your host, Bill Faber. Because democracy demands debate, we present this program of public issues and interests local to our community. And today, we're at the Scovill Zoo with Ken Fry. Hi, Ken.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for coming out.
Hey, right next to us, we've got Tilly, and she's been very vocal this morning.
She has been. She's a gray wolf, and they use howls for a lot of different types of communications.
And for what example? For what reasons do they howl?
Well, they'll howl to call in other pack members, from the surrounding area. They'll howl if there's a kill that they can, call other packs wolves to, and they'll howl to be territorial as well, to kind of keep other packs away from their area as well. So it's kind of an all-encompassing call.
We're here at springtime, and springtime is a busy time for moms and their babies.
It sure is. We have several babies in the zoo we like to show off, including like a baby joeys in the wallabies pouches and in the petting zoo area. And
today's show, we have very exciting. It's our first preview of the penguin exhibit.
Yeah, the penguins have been awesome so far, and I think people who haven't seen them yet are going to love what they see when they come out to visit them at Scovill Zoo.
Great. Let's get started, Ken.
An exhibit that we have right by our train depot is our white American pelican and flamingos. And our two white American pelicans, we have Willie and Taylor, and they are rescue birds. They both were found down in Christian County with injured wings, and we suspect that when they flew into the lake down there, their wings hit a power line and they lost part of their wing, so they can't actually fly anymore. You can see Taylor up there on the stump. He's holding his wing out, and he's missing like from the elbow on. Willie's the one down on the ground scratching right there, and he is missing his whole left wing. And so, but they're very easy to work with birds. That we feed them fish every day, and they run right up to the fence. They kind of learn quickly where their fish is coming from, and toss the fish to them. Another cool thing about these two pelicans is that notch on top of their beak. You can see they have it's called a nuptial tubercle. Let's call it that. And the boy pelicans get that after the age of 3. So we know they're older than 3 years old, and they grow that notch, and the girl pelicans think that's just adorable. So they, by having a really good looking nuptial tubercle on your nose, you have a better chance of getting to date. So that's the pelicans right there. The flamingos, you can see a little further in the background, are just fascinating birds as well. These are Chilean flamingos, which in the wild they come from Chile. And they actually can be in lakes as high as 9,000 feet in the wild. So they really do well with cold temperatures, cold waters, and so actually handle Illinois temperatures quite well. They have those long legs there, and you can see that little pink knob in the middle of their leg, and that's actually their ankle joint. So it looks like their legs are bending backwards, but that's actually their ankle. Their knee is actually way up by their body, and then they have just a really short femur or muscle, thigh muscle. It's really loud with the birds this morning here. That was a peafowl calling over there. So the flamingos get their colors from the shrimp that they eat, brine shrimp in the wild. Here at the zoo, we actually put a little dye in their food mixture for them to eat. And that's our flamingos. We have two Galapagos tortoises, Sam and Ella. Sam's the one here on the right, and Ella's on the left. Ella, the female Galapagos tortoise, is actually the oldest animal we have here at Scoville Zoo, 44 years old, and Sam is just a few years younger than that. The Galapagos tortoises come from the Galapagos Islands. They can live well over 100 years old, up to maybe 150 years. And just this past year, about a year ago, a Galapagos tortoise in Australia died that Darwin actually had taken to Australia. So they can live a really long time. And I think the tortoises themselves are pretty fascinating. They move slow, they eat slow, and by having this slow lifestyle, they have a slow metabolism, and they just kind of make themselves live longer. I don't know if there's anything we can learn from that or not, but the shell of Sam here is kind of rough textured, where Ella's on the right-hand side a little more smooth, feels more like your fingernail material, and then Sam's a little more rough on the outside, and so they kind of patrol the yard here and eat grass. Behind me we have the ringtail lemurs, and I think we have 5 lemurs, and lemurs come from Madagascar in the wild. And the interesting aspect about that is the female, the mother of the troop, is the the leader of the group, and so she eats first. She picks the best place to sit, to sun, and then the males, they all submit pretty quickly and run away. If she says, "This is my spot, I want it," and she'll just run them out. And so the mother kind of rules the roost in here. And there is a father-mother combination in here, and they have one of their offspring in here as well, or a couple of their offspring in here as well. Then there's another lemur in here from a different marriage that's also in here. So they are great jumpers. If you ever see the lemurs jump, they can jump from the ground straight up to the branches. So several times their body lengths they can go, and they can hop from 15 feet from branch to branch, inside the exhibit in the wild as well. So they get great lift with their powerful legs, and they use their tail kind of as a balance. They're also kind of like sun worshipers. You'll see them sitting out with their arms stretched out before them, just kind of soaking in the sun rays, and so that looks like they're sun worshiping. And so that's what a lot of the natives of Madagascar originally thought about the lemurs, that they like to worship the sun, and because of that posture they would get, but it's just kind of help them warm them up. Their tails are about 2 feet long, which is about the body length as well, and they use the tails to wrap around them to keep warm, around each other to help them keep warm, which is kind of fun. So they're very close-knit family group. You often see them huddled together if they're trying to keep warm. The mothers will have singles. Twins are very common to have in the wild, and in here at the zoo we've had twins here born at the zoo, and they're just adorable. So these are the lemurs from Madagascar. At the zoo we have 4 American alligators. 2 are actually out here on exhibit, and 2 we use for our mobile zoo programs, where we take them into schools or nursing homes or county fairs or wherever we're asked to bring a mobile zoo, and kind of use them as an education tool to show off reptiles. And I think alligators are just pretty cool to see up close. The alligator was almost hunt to extinction back in the 50s and 60s. They were put on the endangered species list, and they were one of the few animals that actually thrived after they were protected. And now there's millions of alligators down in the south, and you have shows like Swamp People and Gator Boys and like that. So, but the cool thing about the alligator is everything that they need to survive is right on top of their head. Their eyes are kind of sit high on top of their head. Their ears are just behind the eyes. There's little slits behind the eyes for their ears, and the nose obviously is right at the end of the snout. This one's starting to squirm a little bit, but that's all right. And so everything, when he's floating in the water, everything he needs is just above the water to survive. You can see how the gators behind me there are doing that right now. Almost their entire body is underneath the water, and their eyes, their ears, which are just behind the eyes over there, and their snout is out of the water. Their front legs, they have digits on their front 4 hands or 4 arms to kind of help pull themselves out of the mud. When they're swimming, they'll probably pull their arms back by their body to kind of help them be a little more streamlined. They have a long, powerful tail to help propel them through the water. Their hind legs are more webbed and to kind of help them steer when they're swimming through the water. And of course, they have that amazing bite grip. And I tell people it's like having a pickup truck parked on your foot. It's that like 1,100, 1,500 pound bite force per inch. So it's just a lot of weight. When they grab onto you, you know you're grabbed onto. Where humans have like 150 pound pressure bite, dogs maybe up to 400, wolves up to 600, alligators are like 1,500. Crocodiles, they get up into the 2,000s, and of course we don't know where a great white shark is. That's probably the biggest bite force that you have out there. So gators are pretty cool. You can see the difference between an alligator and a crocodile is the alligator has more of the U-shaped snout. You can see kind of how it goes U around the end of the nose, where the crocodiles are more of a V-shaped. The crocodile's teeth, you can see all their teeth all the time, where the gator, when he closes his mouth, he actually has, you just see the top teeth kind of coming down. And they're very sharp. Each tooth has a point to it, and when they grab on, they hold on to it. The tongue itself, you can kind of see the tongue going back to the back of the throat here. The tongue goes all the way back to the back of the throat, so there's really no hole going down into the stomach there. So when he grabs a fish or something underwater, there's not a bunch of water rushing down his throat. He actually has to put his head way back and hold it way up high and open up that throat to have the food go down it. So he'll chomp things up, or if it's small enough, he can just toss it to the back of the throat and then swallow it whole. And that is the alligator. Their skin is very rough on top, very hard shelled on top, but on the sides it's actually fairly smooth. The tail feels a little rubbery almost if you have to compare it to something. And the pads of the feet are actually very soft, and the tail and the body is really softer than you think they would be. The female alligator lays her eggs in the marshy areas in the south, and she controls the temperature of the nest by either putting more decaying matter on it to help it decay more, which produces heat, or by taking some of the decaying matter away. There's a magic number in there, and I wish I'd looked it up before I started talking here, but it's like a 92, 93 degree temperature. If it's right at that temperature, the eggs are 50-50, female and male. If it's higher than that, they're all male. If it's lower than that, they're all female. So by regulating the temperature of the nest, she can select the sex of her babies. And the female alligators are also great mothers. They're the only reptile of all the snakes, the lizards, and tortoises. All the other ones just lay their eggs and leave and kind of wish their kids good luck. Where the female alligator actually stays with her kids. She'll protect the nest. After the baby alligators are hatched, she hangs out with them for the next year or 2 years, protecting them and giving them the best chance to survive if possible. So our new exhibit this year is the Humboldt penguin exhibit. It turned out very nice. We're very pleased with how it turned out. It's supposed to simulate the coastline of Peru and Chile, where the Humboldt penguin would come from. And the building itself, they have a very large portion of the building which holds the aquatic equipment, the sand filters and the pumps to clean the pool water. And then we have a nesting area just over my right shoulder on this side where the holes are. So the holes go back into the building as well, and for nesting chambers for the penguins. So if they pair up and want to have a nest, they can do that as well. And then the water area itself, we have about 5,000 gallons of pool here. A little rock in the middle for them to hop up on and stand on if they want to, or swim laps around. We have several viewing areas for people as well. Not only can they see them underwater here, but they can go into a little pop-up dome and actually be inside the exhibit and be nose to beak with the birds. And a little further down, they can actually see an overview of the exhibit itself. The Humboldt penguin, like I mentioned, comes from the coast of Chile and Peru in the wild. They kind of fish the Humboldt Current where they get their name, and that's a current really rich in nutrients that comes down out of Antarctica and then comes up the coast of South America there. A lot of nutrients in there, so the plankton and the small microscopic organisms in the water are feeding on that, which brings a little bigger fish, which brings a little bigger fish, and so it's just a very rich fishing area as well. 1/5 of all the fish that are eaten around the world come from the Humboldt Current. So the penguins, they enjoy fishing that as well. They go out and swim into that current and get their fish. One of the problems with the Humboldt penguin right now is they're losing some of their habitat. They live on the coastline of Chile and Peru, and over the centuries of birds going out and fishing and eating fish and coming back and hanging out on the coastline, there's feet of guano that builds up, or bird droppings that builds up, and it's very dry there, so they kind of dry out and make like a nutrient soil. Very high in nitrogen, very high in potassium, and so it's actually a very useful component for agriculture purposes, and so it's been harvested for agricultural reasons. The problem is the Humboldt penguin actually digs their nests out of the guano and lay their eggs, and so take away the guano, there's no nest, there's no eggs, there's no future Humboldt penguins. And so right now a lot of zoos and aquariums are going down into South America to kind of protect the nesting regions of the Humboldt penguin so they can have areas to dig their nests and lay their eggs and get baby Humboldt penguins in the wild. The ones we have here actually all came from zoos in North America. We have one from Seattle, a couple from Santa Barbara. There's 3 from Philadelphia, 1 from St. Louis, 2 from Wichita, and that makes up our 9 penguins right now. We're getting one shortly from Syracuse coming in as well. So we're going to have 10 penguins here in the exhibit. They all have armbands on. The basic rule of thumb is if it's on the right wing, it's a male. If it's on the left wing, it's a female. And then the color itself kind of helps us tell, like, this is the green armband penguin swimming by now, and we have a sign off the exhibit that you can look up green armband that is such and such penguin. And I don't have it memorized, whether I'll tell you right now which one it was. Which one's green armband? He's not even listed, is he? I would pick that one. So, and then like yellow is Wild Liz, and red is Chief, and so you can just kind of figure out which penguin is which on the inside. There are 17 species of penguins. A lot of people think that penguins require the freezer temperatures of Antarctica, but only 5 of the 17 species of penguins actually come from Antarctica. This is one of the species of the other 12 that are left that come from areas like South Africa, or like the Humboldt penguin from the coast of Chile and Peru. Australia has several species of penguins, and they go all the way up to the equator on the Galapagos Islands. There's a species of penguin up on the Galapagos Islands, and so that's as high as they go. So all the penguins are in the southern hemisphere, and only 5 of those species require the refrigeration. So they do very well. These are called temperate penguins, so they do very well in the summer temperatures like you have here in Illinois, and they really don't like the cold. So our cold temperatures that we have up here, we actually take them inside the building where we have a pool inside that they can swim in when it gets too cold outside for them to hang out in the pool. The water itself is heated in the wintertime, so it doesn't freeze, and so in the wintertime they can come out and swim if it's warm enough outside for them. And then in the summertime, we chill it down to that 60 degree, which is about the temperature of the Humboldt Current in the wild. So that's the temperature they like to swim in. And in the wintertime, last winter, it was snowing outside. The keepers opened the door, showed them to the penguins. They just turned around and walked back inside. So they don't deal with cold at all. There's several signs around the penguin exhibit, educational opportunities. One of them just shows the anatomy of the bird, how they're built like a torpedo to just really zip through the water. They can actually swim faster than a lot of fish can. Actually, on land, they can probably run faster than a lot of humans can. They're actually pretty quick on land, even though they look a little more awkward than that. We have another sign talking about the conservation of the penguin. And so some of the theming of the Peru coastline is a derrick. And so ships come to the coast, are loaded up with the bags of guano that are shipped out. And so we have a derrick structure here on the exhibit to kind of symbolize the coast of Chile and Peru. And then the rockwork behind me is to symbolize that as well, the coastline of Chile and Peru. And I've just seen some pictures from there, and it's actually pretty close to true on how the rocks look down there.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Down in the Scoville Farm area, we have a lot of new zoo babies. Natalie here is helping me show off some of these. We have one of a baby goat here in her arms. We have 15 baby goats that were born this year so far. We have a few more that are coming, and they're really cute. Some like to come up and be petted and touched, and others not so much. But just to watch them play out in the yard is a lot of fun. They're bouncing off rocks and running through the logs, and then they'll just stop, lay down, and go to sleep. So they kind of work up their energy, and then they take a nap, which it sounds nice to me. And in my hands here, I have a little chick. It's a few days old. This duck here in my other hand is 5 days old. And they're down here in the Scoville Farm area as well, in the poultry building behind me. The chicks, we hatch them here at the zoo. And the duck was hatched here as well. The Mama Muscovia duck, she laid a bunch of eggs, and 12 of them hatched. And she now has 12 babies in here in the poultry building as well for people to check out. The Muscovy duck itself comes from Mexico, along the Rio Grande area, down into Central America and South America, Northern South America area. And there are some wild variety of that, but they've also been domesticated by people down there to raise as a food source and as a hobby and a pet. And they are kind of a black and white color. This one's got some yellow on him, and there's some the other babies that have a lot of yellow on them as well. The chicks, we have several varieties of chicks in the brooder area behind me, and ranging from your bantams and millefleurs and those type, and so you can come and check out the different varieties of chicks we have behind us. Also down the zoo, petting zoo area, we have some cows, and we have a zebu who's in with the big Angus female cow. And the zebu is a dwarf male, and he's a lot of fun. You'll see the zebu, they have that Brahma bull type hump behind their head and a dewlap hanging under their chin. There's also a big guinea hog male that hangs out in the cow area. And then on the other side, we have the female guinea hog with her 2 children, 2 female babies, and they're just the sweetest things you ever want to see. You start scratching their back, and they just flop over waiting for a belly rub. And so they're they're about probably 100-pound little lap dog, I think you call them. So, and then the female is probably pushing 250 right now. The male hog is about 300 pounds. So when Scoville Zoo first started back in 1967, it was a farm. It was called Scoville Farm, and the children's zoo, or the petting zoo area, was kind of what it was. They had goats, they had chickens, they had the cows and the pigs, and it's to show kids just kind of different farm animals. And back in the 70s, about 74, they got a Malaysian sun bear, and that's the first exotic animal that they got at the zoo. And so after a few years after that, it became the Scoville Children's Zoo, and then in the 80s they just shortened it to Scoville Zoo. So, but the farm aspect of Scoville Zoo is still, very much alive here with all the babies that we have down here. Eating my pants. Yeah.
Eating my sleeve.
Eating your sleeve. We have our endangered species carousel here at the zoo. There's 30 hand-carved wooden animals. They're all different, and then we have 2 benches as well. The carousel itself was actually built back in the 40s, and it was a travel carousel, so they could set it up and tear it down, going into a city and just be there for a few days, and they'd tear it down and go into the next one. So it was actually built for quick setup and tear down. But here we just leave it up all the time. And it's been here. This is the 11th season for the carousel. We had its 10-year anniversary last August, and it's just really a beautiful structure. And the kids love to ride it. A lot of kids have their favorite animals when they come to ride it. This summer we're actually going to close it down for a few days to redo the animals and redo the brass poles. And so if you come earlier in the spring, make sure you come back later in the summer as well to see the difference of the protection coating that we put on the animals and the new brass poles that we're getting that coming out of the animals as well. So it's going to look a lot different and even more pretty than it is now. The carousel is about a 2.5-minute ride, and we have music that goes along with it. It's off right now, so I can talk to you. But it's a fun ride, and parents can stand with their kids for free. We just have the child pay for the ticket, and the tickets are $2. Here at the zoo, there are several things that really aren't zoo-related, but they just happen to be out here at the zoo, and one of them is this building behind me. It's our education center called the Schilling Education Center, and the building has 2 rooms. They hold up to about 90 people per side, with the restroom facility in between them. It's used for wedding receptions, weddings. We've had weddings in there, reunions, anniversaries, a lot of birthday parties. We have a lot of kid birthday parties that will rent that in there. We have special packages for that. Also on the zoo grounds, we have a gazebo that people get married in throughout the summer. And then the Schilling House, or the Scoville House, which is behind the Oriental Garden area. People rent that for family reunions and baby showers and birthdays and other things that they like to rent things for. So, and that holds up to about 40 people, the Scoville House does. And it kind of overlooks the lake, great view. Any time of year you can rent that. The building behind me, you can rent that around the year as well, not just when the zoo is open. The playground outside the zoo is open in the mornings. We open up about 8 o'clock and then close it down at dusk time. And so, and that's free to the public at all the time. So it's part of the park area, and it's a very great playground, great cushy surface, and parents love it. So not only can you come visit the zoo, but you can actually rent the facilities at the zoo for your special occasion.
Well, Ken, thanks for a great tour. Natalie and I learned so much today.
Very good. It was fun to have you guys out here.
You know, Ken, you had mentioned that you began your association with the zoo as a volunteer a long time ago, while you had your career at WAND.
I did, yeah. I started as a volunteer, helping out, driving the train, running the carousel. Wasn't here at the time, but I would have done that too. Doing the tours here at the zoo in the springtime with the school kids coming in April and May, and then just taking animals out to schools. I'm doing mobile zoos as well. So that was kind of how I got started in the field, and just kind of kept in contact with the director and the current director, Dave Webster, and then ended up getting a job out here. So it's worked out really well.
The zoo is just a great resource for the community, and we should be very, very proud of it.
Well, thank you. We're very proud of it, too. And we're always open to new ideas. If people want to send those new ideas to us, some of them aren't cost-effective or fit into our facility, but we're always hoping to hear that great new idea and great animal to bring to our zoo.
Great. Thanks so much, Ken.